Hey kiddos, let's make some mashed potatoes today. First I'm going to start off by cutting some potatoes into large chunks. So I'm going to probably cut each potato into about 6 pieces. To cut a dense vegetable like a potato, you're going to need to use the weight of the back of a knife. Remember that the back of the knife, called the heel, is the heaviest part, and that's what we're going to use to get into that potato. If we were cutting something a little bit softer like a strawberry, we would use probably the tip of the knife. Watch how I use the tunnel method to keep my potatoes from rolling around and losing control on the cutting board. Don't let your cutting board get too crowded. When you start to run out of room, just clean it off and give yourself some space to cut. And now it's time to take these potatoes over to the stove to cook. Here I have a heavy pot full of water. We're going to be boiling our potatoes to get them soft. You can put the potatoes in while the water is still cold. There are some foods that you have to wait for the water to boil before you put it in, but with potatoes, you can just go ahead and put it in before you even turn on the heat.
Try to drop potatoes into boiling hot water. Because that's what they do at school.
So this next part is crucial. You need to season your water. Whether you are cooking potatoes or rice or some other bland starch, add some flavoring to your water because we always want to build on flavor and add seasoning as we go to make sure that we have a depth of flavor and some delicious potatoes. I forgot to open up the package, as you can see, so my husband's going to help me in a second. Here he comes. Thanks, hon. Okay, so this is chicken seasoning. It's just chicken bouillon powder. It's powdered chicken stock. You can use it as a base for soup. You can use it to season your water when you're boiling things. I use this a lot of the time just to give things an extra punch of flavor. If you are vegetarian, you can use a vegetable stock. If you would prefer, you could use some beef stock. You just want to get some flavor into that water. So now we're going to let these come to a boil, and we are going to want to boil these for about 20 minutes or so until they are tender. The way you can check if they're tender is you stick a fork in it, and if you don't feel any resistance, you're good to go. Now I have drained the liquid out of the potatoes and they are still very hot. To make them creamy, I'm going to add some cream. There's not very much left in that bottle, but there's more coming. We want to make these nice and zesty, flavorful. We want to make them taste buttery, of course, so we're going to add a good bit of butter. We're going to season it with just some basic seasonings. We're going to use a little salt, a little pepper, and some garlic powder. Remember, we also already added a lot of flavor when we cooked them in that chicken bouillon. So here's a little bit more cream. We want to add cream because we don't want it to be just a dry mashed potato, so we're going to add some liquid to it. Then we're going to add some sour cream. You don't have to do this, but I think it tastes great. This will make it extra creamy and it's going to add a tangy flavor. You can also get creative. Of course, you're going to love it if you add some shredded cheddar cheese to it, or maybe you could add some chopped bacon or chopped green onions. One thing that I often do is add some ranch dressing mix. So there are a lot of things you can do to jazz up your potatoes, but salt, pepper, and garlic powder always does the trick for me. All right, we have all of our flavors there, and we are ready to mash these taters. I generally don't like to use a potato masher because they're hard to wash. The skins get stuck in there, so a regular fork does just fine if your potatoes have been cooked for long enough. If you don't have any peels on your potatoes, which you can choose to do, you can also mash these up with a whisk. But a fork will do. If you really want to use a potato masher, you can. I just find that it's difficult to wash and it only has one purpose in the kitchen, so I just use a fork. So as I mash and stir, they're getting smoother and creamier. If you don't like peels in your mashed potatoes, that's fine. You would want to peel them before you cut them. So the very first thing you would do is use a potato peeler, a vegetable peeler, and peel it. Another thing you can do is leave the peel on, cook them whole, and then once they are tender, remove them from that boiling water and put them into ice water, which will allow you to very easily remove the peel. But I think it's easier and more tasty to leave the peel on. You do it however you want to. This is getting nice and creamy. Let's give it a try. Ooh, that looks good. Let's taste some of this, Atkins. Okay, go for it. Yum. Wait, yep, I like it. I do like it. Bon appetit.